My name's Sally. I'm an addict. Hi, everybody. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and I'm nervous. I always get nervous. I don't know why, but I always do. I have a lot of respect for my fellow addicts and the people who support us, and I feel like it's really important that I take things like this seriously. You know, we're here to have fun, and we're here to live and to experience this new way of life. But this is a serious disease, and it affects a lot of people, and a lot of people don't have loved ones here because this disease has taken them. And I don't think for a moment, I don't take my place for granted. I don't take my seat in the rooms of a 12-step fellowship for granted. I am grateful that I get to be alive and clean and be in a room like this talking to you guys when a lot of people that I know and used with aren't here. You know, the program that I go to, we talk about the ends are always the same, jails, institutions, and death, and I've watched it over and over throughout the years. And I have a lot of gratitude that I get to be here. So if you're here today, give yourself a hand. Congratulations for being here. You know, for showing up for yourself. Like, that's not easy. You know, it took me a long time to get clean. I was thinking about, you know, I was on my way here, and I'm driving down this road, and it's overlooking the bay. I'm like, I'm going to take the bay view today. So I drive down, and I'm looking out over the bay, and I'm looking out over the cherry fields, and I'm thinking about how grateful I am and how I get to do this, right? I get to live in Traverse City, Michigan, Recovery Town, USA. I didn't want anything but to get out of this town, to get out of northern Michigan and go do something else. And now I can see the beauty in the things around me, right? I have this gratitude, and I have a job here, and I have friends here, and I have a life here and a community here. And I'll tell you right now, I did not have that when I first got clean. I did not have that when I moved to Traverse City to get clean. I was jobless, penniless, homeless. I was broke. Was in debt, taking money out of ATMs that I couldn't pay back. That I didn't realize, like, back then you could take $500 out of an ATM and they didn't say anything like till the next day. So you would go to like all the different ATMs and get $500. So I carried a lot of debt, and a lot of people kind of, you know, wondering where I was at when I first got clean. But the perfect storm happened to bring me to recovery. The perfect storm. And I am so grateful for all of those things. And I wanted to say thank you to Corey for asking me to do this tonight. This is super cool. I have heard about this, and I've seen pictures and stories, and I've watched the YouTube videos, and I'm like, the only way I'm going to get up there is if Corey blurs out my face and changes my voice on the video. So when you watch me on YouTube, it won't be like this. No, I'm just kidding. I told him. We're cool. But this is a really cool thing. We have a really cool recovery community in Traverse City, and I have a certain pathway of recovery, right? I go to a certain 12-step fellowship, and that's sort of the lane that I stay in, and I love it, and I love my people, and you know, sometimes it's hard for me to like veer out. It's hard for me to be uncomfortable, right? I don't want to do things that are different. I get into like, but that's not what my recovery has been about, right? My recovery has been about the path that I'm being led on, and me having faith and trust and just following the way. And when I step out of my own way for a minute, I can be open-minded to think of somebody else, to think of somebody else's way, and to know that God always puts me right where I'm supposed to be. I didn't have a relationship with a higher power when I got here. You know, I work a spiritual, not religious program, but I know that there is a higher power that has guided me. Like all of the things that have gotten me to where I am today, I know that there's something out there watching over me. And so who am I to say that I shouldn't be a part of this, or I shouldn't speak for that, or that's not me? I don't know what God has in store for me. So I'm going to show up when I'm asked, right? The program has never said no to me, as we say in the program. And so I'm going to do these things. I got clean. My clean date is June 15th, 2006. Yeah. So I have almost 19 years clean, which means that I got clean at the tender age of 8. Just kidding. I wasn't 8. I was 22 when I got clean, and I had had enough. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I found myself in bathrooms a lot. I was in bathrooms with the water running, staring in the mirror, telling myself I wasn't going to do anymore, that I was done. And not 5 minutes later, I was back out doing one more. And I did that like over and over, and my life had become this just like repetitive thing where I was on this hamster wheel and I didn't know how to get off. I didn't know. My life had come crashing down. I had lost my job. I had, a relationship that was terrible. I had been evicted from my second apartment. I was sick. My lungs had collapsed. I was in and out of the hospital. I tried to go to Wayne State. I didn't make it much past the parking lot. I lived in this apartment in an air mattress on the floor, and it was the end of the road, but I didn't know that there was another way to live. I did not know that. When I lived downstate, I went to a gas station one time, and I asked them to borrow a phone book. And I went to the D section in the phone book, and I ripped the D pages out. I was looking up drug, and I ripped the D pages out, and I went to a payphone, and I started, I got clean in 2006. There were still payphones and yellow phone books that you could get at the gas station. And so I ripped it out, and I go to the payphone, and I start calling down the list of D things. And I called treatment centers, and I called, I got all these different things. Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know that there were a bunch of people like me who lived this different way of life, who had used like I did, and who had found a way out. And so I started calling all these phone numbers, and this one lady, this is before MAT, she says, well, if you have $2,000, we have a shot that you can take. I was like, lady, if I had $2,000, do you think I would be making this phone call right now? I would be high. This would not be happening. So, I didn't know that would have been a solution back then. It wasn't a thing. But I kept calling, and I kept asking for help. When I ended my using, I was in an apartment. I had locked myself in the apartment. And listen, I was a kid that had everything going for her. I was funny and charismatic. I was smart. I got good grades. I ran my own world, right? I was in control, and I used, right? I used drugs. Drugs gave me the ability to let go. They gave me the ability to relax. I had 2 parents in my home. My home was still dysfunctional. Back in the 90s, parents weren't like, we're going to go to therapy and talk about this. There wasn't really a whole lot of therapy stuff going on. So I had this dysfunctional home, but my parents did the best that they could. My mom was in recovery. And so I kind of grew up in a 12-step fellowship, going to potlucks on Friday night and hearing open speakers. And so I knew about the first 3 steps, and I knew about powerlessness. And I used it, my disease used it to my advantage. So we would be honored way downstate to get dope, and I'd turn to my boyfriend and I'd be like, well, you know the first step. We're powerless. We have to go make this drive to get these drugs. And he'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I couldn't remember that there were other steps that came after that found the solution, but so I used it, and that's what this disease does. It uses my own mind. My disease talks to me in the same voice that I talk to me in. And it tells me things that just aren't true. And it'll justify and rationalize all the craziest things in the world. So, I had this 12-step fellowship, and I had this family, and I used anyway. And I got arrested for the first time when I was 14, and, life was crazy. I had some crazy years. It ended, though, I got arrested again just after my 22nd birthday. And I told everybody I was going to treatment, and I lied, and I would take my mom's car because I had lost my car in the process. I had crashed it. I lost everything. I took my mom's car, and I'd say I was going to outpatient treatment, right? Because I called, it was NIMSAS at the time, and I pretended like it wasn't that bad, okay? And so they gave me outpatient treatment because I wasn't ready to get clean. I didn't know that I could stay clean. So I start going to this outpatient, and I don't go. I never show up. I pick up my mom's car, I drive around to find drugs, and then I bring it back an hour later, and I tell her how great the session was. And I did that for about 6 weeks. And, at the end of the 6 weeks, my mom would come to my door, and she'd be pounding on the door, and I'd be there, and I wouldn't answer the door. And she'd go, Sally, I know you're in there. Sally, I'm here for you. I know you're in there. And I wouldn't answer the door. And I was so afraid. I had become this person who didn't know how to interact with other people. My living skills had been reduced to the animal level. I didn't like to go to bed at night because I didn't want to wake up in the morning. And one time my mom did that, and she came over and she was banging on my window, and I was ignoring her. And then I walked to the door, and I opened the door, and she had left me little Hershey's bars of chocolate. And, my mom did what she could do. She did what she knew how to do, and she loved me the best that she could. I couldn't get clean for my mom. I couldn't get clean because my mom wanted me to. And so we went to my lawyer after 6 weeks of intensive outpatient therapy that I hadn't gone to once. And he looks at me and he says, Miss Beeman, crack is not a recreational drug. You have a problem and you need to figure something out. If you don't get this fixed, you're going to go to prison. And, and I kind of took that seriously until I sat down in front of the judge, and I thought treatment would be the easier, softer way. So I went to treatment. And my first day in treatment, is there anybody in here from D-House? D-House? Yeah. It may or may not be known, but D-House used to be co-ed. We didn't say D-House back then. We would fraternize with each other, the guys and the girls. We would sit, there's like a door upstairs in between the two sides, and we'd sit there and pass notes under the door back and forth, and, we would get these little corrections notes and whatever. But I went to Dukoski, and ATS is part of what saved my life. I went to Detox, I went to Dukoski Hall, and I started an outpatient program with them after that. I lived in a women's transitional home, but the first day that I went to Dukoski, they took me to an NA meeting. And I went to that 12-step meeting, and I went to all different kinds of 12-step meetings. I went to Westside. We smoked cigarettes. It was amazing. There were so many people smoking in that room. You didn't even have to smoke. You could feel like you were smoking. And I would do things like I would sit on the steps, and I would sing, because I loved to sing. And I hadn't sang in years. And I don't know if they still have it there, but Dukoski had a piano in that main room, and I played the piano. And I would sit there, and I would play the piano. And I hadn't played the piano in years because my disease took over my life. It became my everything. And everything that I loved became on the back burner. My disease came first. And so, I went to Dukoski. They took me to these meetings. Thank God for that. They made me walk to all the meetings. You guys get like the druggy buggy. We used to have to walk our asses to Fifth and Oak and to Westside and all of these places. And it was good for me. It was good for me to have somebody tell me what to do and to wake up in the morning and to brush my teeth. I have a disease that's physical, emotional, and spiritual, right? And I had to gain back my life in that order. Physically, I had to start taking showers every day. You might think I look cute now. I was not cute then. I had, burnt fingertips and it was pretty gross. But I had to learn to start doing that, taking showers every day, brushing my teeth on a regular basis, washing my clothes. I hadn't taken care of myself in a really long time. And I started to get physical stuff back. And then I started to get, my mental and emotional function back. It was really hard for me to interact with other people for a really long time. I carried a briefcase with me. And Connor carried the briefcase with him. I carried a newspaper with me. Sorry, Connor, I was taking your story. I carried a newspaper with me. And it wasn't because I was smart. Yes, I was smart, but that's not why I did it. I carried the newspaper with me because I was terrified of having a conversation with anyone. I was terrified of looking someone in the eyes. I couldn't look myself in the eyes in the mirror in a car, like the mirror that comes down, because I hated who I was. I had become a person who hated who I was. I thought I was my disease. I thought I was the mistakes that I had made. And slowly I started to gain back the ability to love and be loved and to show up for myself and to care about my thoughts and to start having boundaries, So I started to get these mental and emotional things back. And I did it through going to meetings. I went to 90 meetings. I went to 180 meetings in 90 days. I went to all the meetings. We used to call it the trifecta, where you would go to the noon meeting, you would go to the 6 o'clock meeting, and then you would go to the 8 o'clock meeting, and we just rolled. We just went with it. We went to all the things, and it was my life. Recovery became my job, right? And then one day somebody said to me, you know that a 12-step program doesn't pay the bills. And I was like, I don't even care right now. I just want to live. I'm not using drugs anymore. And that needed to be my life for a while. And it was beautiful. And I got involved with service, and I met new people, and they told me to get a sponsor, and I found this woman, and they told me to find somebody who had something that you wanted, right? And so I found this woman, and her boyfriend who was super cute and super charismatic. And so she had something that I wanted. So I asked her to be my sponsor. And the way that this program works, like luckily, I talked to him first and asked him to give me a ride somewhere. And he said, here, I'll give you my fiance's number. And he gave me her phone number, and I called her, and she became my first sponsor. And she drove me around with her everywhere, and she bought me my first step working guide. And, since then, I've seen her come in and out of recovery, and I've seen her come in and out of living in Phoenix House and treatment. And, she passed away from the disease a few years ago. And it's just another one of those things, jails, institutions, and death. Like, that's where this takes us. And again, like, that's part of my gratitude that, like, I'm not there today. I'm living this life. And, recovery has been incredible and difficult and beautiful and emotional and a roller coaster. And I had no idea what I was in for when I got clean. All I wanted to do was get my parents and the judge off of my back. All I wanted to do was to figure out maybe how to use or how to, like, be a part of this and still do it my way. And that's not how this works, right? At my very first meeting that I went to, somebody talked about white knuckling it, and they talked about hanging onto the table and not using no matter what. And I had never heard that term before. And I didn't know that I had a choice. I didn't know that in my brain, like where it said, like, hey, you have to get high, or hey, the decision is to get high. I didn't realize that, like, that I had a choice, that I have a thinking disease, and that I can do some things to change my thinking and ideas, and that I don't have to continue that roller coaster, that hamster wheel that I was on that never stopped. And I had never heard somebody talk about the squirrel cage in my head that, like, went over and over and over again. I had never heard somebody refer to addiction like that before. I didn't know that there were people who used like I did, who thought like I did, who had found their way out. And when I walked into a meeting, I found those people. And, I grasped on it. I've never let go. And recovery has been the biggest blessing in my life. Everything I have today is a result of my recovery. I saw some people at the time. I thought they were really old. They were like 50. I saw them go back to school. I saw them doing classes. I, asked for help. I said, how are you guys doing it? I helped tutor some of them. So I ended up going back to school. I graduated. I got my degree in mathematics. I went and I studied abroad. I got to go study in London. And the very first thing that I did when I got to London was I called the 800 number for the 12-step fellowship that I was a part of. And I said, where's the nearest meeting and how do I get there? And I ended up it was right around the corner from my house, and it became my home group. And it was very similar to how they do it here in the States. And our readings are colored, and the readings all looked exactly the same. And I got a service position, and I was the tea and biscuit maker. And so I would learn how everybody needed their tea. So we would make 2 milks and a sugar. But I had a service position. And it's like I learned that that's what we do. Wherever we go, we have an instant community because I'm a part of this recovery fellowship. I have friends everywhere. We went to Mexico. Me and my boyfriend and my good friends went to Mexico 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that we did is we went into central Mexico and we went to an NA meeting. And, we got dropped off in some sketch part of town. And we speak very little Spanish. And we had to find our way, but we found our way, We got there, and we sit down, the meeting's almost over, and this guy is translating the meeting into my ear. And it was very reminiscent. A few years prior to that, I had gone to Greece, and I had looked for a meeting in Greece. And I sat down at a meeting in Greece, and the man sitting next to me translated the meeting into my ear. And it's like, it doesn't matter where I go. This is there if I am willing to be a part of it, if I'm willing to put myself out there and get connected. Things have been great, things have been hard. I've been through divorce, I've been through marriage, I've been through being a business owner, I've been through a severe bout of postpartum depression when I wanted my child to die. And I've done all of this clean. So just because we get clean doesn't mean that life stops happening. Life still happens. But I learn how to deal with life. And I do it with all of you. And I do it because people came to meetings before me and they talked about what recovery meant to them. They talked about the things that they were going through. They were honest. That is the most beautiful thing that we can do, is be honest with each other about how we're really feeling. You know, I got the ability to get my feelings back. I got the ability to get my family back. You know, I get to be there for my mom now. She's not banging down my door, leaving chocolates at my door. I get to host my mom, and she can come stay at my house, and I get to be the one who throws parties. I was not this person when I got clean. I did not have the ability to show up for other people or to love other people. I had lost everything. This past few years has been like the best few years of my recovery. One of the things that I recommend to so many people is like, just stay open-minded. Stay open-minded and willing to learn something new, that my way is not the only way. I look around this room and like the relationships that I have with all of these different people from all of these different aspects of my life and things that have happened throughout my life, I would have bet money that I would not have met all of these people and like had all of these interactions. But it's like my higher power works in a way that I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't have a definitive definition of what it's doing, but I just continue to show up and the beauty just unfolds in front of me. And it doesn't mean that things don't go wrong. I have to learn about boundaries. I have 19 years clean, and I'm still learning how to have a boundary with a person. I'm still learning how to hang up a phone when somebody talks to me disrespectfully. You know, I don't know how to do that all the time. But I can continue to learn. I continue to work steps, and I have a sponsor. I have a home group, Recovery First. You know, I do this recovery thing because my life depends on it. And I might not lose my stuff, like, right now. I have enough stuff in my life that I'm not going to lose everything. Like, if I go back out and use tonight, you know, I might be able to have a little fun for a couple days. I don't know. I got some stuff to burn through now, right? I didn't have anything when I got clean. I have a house now. I have a 401k. Like, what is that? You know, I have, like, these things, and I might not use today, or I might not, like, go off the rails, but I'm going to eventually, and it's just not worth it for me. It's not worth it. Do I want to throw my life away? No, I don't. I want to do this. I want to keep doing it. I want to keep meeting more people and doing more things and experiencing life. Being able to be in the moment and not thinking about what's next or where am I going or how am I going to do this. Being in the moment, experiencing life is just the best gift that I could ever get. And the thing that is most important to me with recovery is that there came a point where I lost the desire to use. I didn't think that that was ever going to stop. I didn't think that I would ever lose that, like, I'm going to, you know, I have to get high, like, this is the next thing. I lost the desire to use drugs. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't come, like, every now and then, and something will come up, and I'll be like, you know, I have the reservations that I went through in the first step. It's like, oh, I'd like to have a glass of wine. And it's like, you drink the wine by the bottle. You don't drink a glass of wine. But I can, like, play the tape through, and I know, like, you know, what things are going to be like, and I don't have to risk it. I don't have to risk it. And for that, I'm just super, super grateful. I'm going to end with this. This guy goes to sleep. He has this dream, okay? He has this dream, and he's at this table, and it's the longest, most beautiful table that he's ever seen in his life, and it's filled with the most exquisite, beautiful foods that he has ever seen. And in this dream, he is absolutely starving, okay? He is starving, and he's so excited to eat this food, okay? 100 people at this table, beautiful dishes, smells incredible. And he looks down, and there's a spoon, and the only way that he can eat this food is with this spoon. Well, it's not a regular spoon. The spoon is longer than his arm. So he grabs the spoon, and he tries to eat. And it doesn't matter what he does. He cannot get the spoon in his mouth. And so he starves, and he dies. And so in this dream, he wakes up with a start, and he doesn't know what to do. And he sees his friend the next day, and he says, oh, my God, I had this nightmare last night. Like, you know, I was at this table, and there was all this exquisite food, and there was this spoon, and it was long as my arm. She goes, oh, my God, I had the same dream. And he's like, you did? And she's like, yeah, but it's not a nightmare at all. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, I had all this food, and I couldn't eat. And she says, no. You're not supposed to use the spoon to feed yourself. You use the spoon to feed everyone else. And that's what I do in the rooms of recovery is I find that community and I find that connection and the people who believe in me and want to help me in my recovery, and I stick with those people. And if you haven't found them yet, I am telling you, they are out there. We are here. We will love you until you can learn to love yourself. And I'm just really grateful to be clean. I am really grateful that I got to be here tonight with you guys, and I'm going to keep coming. That's all I've got. Thanks, guys.